name is Jack, and I've just finished going through Laos, and what a beautiful country it really is. The natural scenery there is breathtaking. Whatever I thought I saw before in northern Thailand was good, this matched it and way better. It was really like stepping into the real Asia. Communication wasn't that great with locals. The commercialization of this country is basically zero, and it doesn't really fish out to tourists like Bangkok and northern Thailand. I've heard that southern Thailand is even worse than that. Just for Westerners to go there and enjoy their country and the scenery there, but Laos is just so different, and that's one of the reasons why I really did love this place. There's so much to do there, either from the street markets and the food to hiking above the clouds and sleeping under the stars. And in my opinion, definitely an underrated country and one that must be delved into. We only scratched the surface of this country because we went to Pak Bang, which was the halfway point of the slow boat, Luang Prabang, Nong Kiao, Vang Vieng, and we had one night in the capital in Van Tien before heading off on a 24-hour sleeper bus to Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. Before we go into the story of Hanoi, let's go back to the start with the slow boat. We opted for this journey because we heard that the scenery and the whole experience was just truly remarkable, and it really was, for better and for worse, I'd say. The first day we got there, we got picked up at 5 a.m. from Chiang Rai, and we went to the Thai-Lao border. Then we got aboard the slow boat at about 10:30. We were the last group called, and we were right at the back of the line because British people just love to queue and we didn't want to push in. But that came at a consequence because we were sat right next to the engine for 6 hours and the heat was blistering and it was just a sweat box on there. It was just so hot, and I had to put my earplugs in because the engine was revving for the whole 6 hours at decibels that would just make me go deaf. We were crammed in there like sardines, but I could stretch my legs, stand up and look through a window, and the scenery along the river was amazing. Then we stopped in Pak Beng, which was a rural town in Laos. 6 hours after the engine was ringing in our ears for that amount of time, and it was just a different experience because we've had the chaos of Bangkok and then the more relaxed vibe of northern Thailand, but this was a different kettle of fish. We were rubbing shoulders with the locals and they didn't speak a word of English really. We didn't understand them, they didn't understand us, but it was just amazing to see how simplicity in life can just make you so happy. These people seemed so poor and it really did make me feel sad, but all of them had smiles on their faces. I think the simple things in life here in Laos is what they just really appreciate. Sometimes back home, the United Kingdom, myself included, just overthink things, if things aren't quite going our way, but people here would truly appreciate having half or quarter or even a tenth of what we've got back home. It just puts life into perspective, and it was just lovely to see how a simple life really can be a happy life. But in Pak Bang, at our hostel, the sunset was simply marvellous. The second day on the slow boat was so much better than the first day, because the first day we had the engine right next to us. I could literally reach out and touch it. But the second day we got prepared nice and early, got a coffee, had our breakfast, went down to the slow boat, and we got 2 benches next to each other so where we could play cards, talk, read, and just really appreciate the surroundings that we were going through as we were bobbing along the river to our location of Luang Prabang. The hillsides, the natural animals and the water just really hit me, and it felt a real privilege just to be here to experience this. It would have been a lot cheaper and it would have taken half the time to do the sleeper bus from northern Thailand to Luang Prabang, but you wouldn't have seen any of this. So having the bad experience really made me cherish the good experience that we had the second day with a couple people we met from back home in the United Kingdom on the slow boat. travelling through to our first port of call, the first thing I noticed was the roads and just how terrible they are. It is like you're on a roller coaster going up, down, left, right, and everything in between, because there's potholes every couple of meters. It seems like you could get whiplash at the snap of your fingers. But I guess it all adds to the fun and the experience whilst travelling, because you got to go through bad times, I think personally, to appreciate the good. And there's a story on that a little bit later, but let's say Luang Prabang. We got there, and the first thing we had to do was get Lautanian kip out, which is the local currency, and it is about 27,000 kip to £1 English. So it's a little bit hard to keep on top of, because you can become a millionaire with about £40. Luang Prabang is just brilliant. There's just a lot to do here. I think about 4 days and 3 nights is the perfect amount of time here, because you can do what you want in the day. You can go up to the temples, you can go to a stunning waterfall, absolutely sensational. Go for a quick dip there as well. The water is so refreshing, and it's a great way to cool off from the Laos sun. And with the trees towering over you, there's not much better place to do it. And it's really cheap to go in here. This country is just as cheap as Thailand, which makes it even more enjoyable whilst experiencing this stunning country. When we saw the waterfall, it was brilliant because it was absolutely massive, and we decided to hike up to the top where you could swim, but going up to the top wasn't that easy. Even with trainers, I was slip sliding all the way up and all the way down, but thankfully no casualties, which is really great. But one of the best things about Luang Prabang, which is a man-made and artificial thing, of course is, from what I'm going to tell you, is the bowling. You go bowling for about £1 to £1.50 per game, which is like a tenth of the price back home. And everyone goes here because at about 10 p.m, everything shuts down, from the street food, the street market, and the restaurants. So the only place to carry on your night is whilst trying to get strikes down a alley, which is just full of backpackers, meeting people, enjoying the local beer, which is Beer Lao. What a beer, by the way. It was just great fun. We went there 2 nights out of the 3. We just couldn't get enough. The whole atmosphere there, everyone was just having a good time, enjoying the local alcohol and the high spirits from everyone indulging in this quirky place. So when me and Ben were organising our trip, we only had Luang Prabang, Van Vieng and Vientiane on our trip, but we got persuaded to head north about 3 hours in a minivan bus to a place called Nong Kiao, and oh my goodness, what a place. If you go to Laos, I urge you not to miss it, because the landscape is stunning. It's sensational. These videos really do not do it justice, because the hillsides look down on you as you look out into the river. There is so much outdoor activity you could do here, because you can go hiking, kayaking. You really disconnect from outside of Laos and the rest of the world. The river was stunning to swim in, to kayak in, and really added extra depth to the beauty of this rural town.
Wow, this is incredible. This is insane, isn't it?
But the main reason we came here was to do a hike. Shoes on, backpack on, overnight to sleep under the stars, and it was tough, to say the least. It took about an hour 40 to get to the top, but when you got there, it was so worth the sweat and not nearly tears, maybe nearly if it was another hour or so, to get to the top, to see down onto Nong Kiao. It's probably the best thing I've done so far. A little bit of physical exercise and you reap the rewards, by seeing the stunning landscape below you. Words can't describe just how sensational the views were and the feeling when you got to the top, and you reward yourself by drinking in the views and everything else around you. We were rewarded with pad thai that was carried up by the locals, and on the way down we saw the tour guides run down in their flip-flops. It was sensational. I'm pretty sure they've got spidey senses, because I had my backpack and my trainers on and I was going down at a snail's pace, but the tour guides, they must do it so often, and they flew down. It honestly must have taken them about 30 minutes, but it took about the same time to go up to go down, because it was quite slippy and the gradient was quite steep. But when at the top of the mountain, we played cards, listened to music and exchanged stories. We had to scratch ourselves to not think that we were dreaming, because this place and that experience is one that I will always remember. And you can appreciate Mother Nature and the gorgeous views that we witnessed. It was exquisite. I took my drone up, which added some weight to my bag, but so worth it for these views. The next morning, feeling worse for wear and legs feeling quite heavy after a pretty steep hike, we were floating above the clouds before we did our descent at 8 a.m. But please, if you come to Laos, do not miss Nong Kiao. It is so worth it. This place is small but full of energy and character. If Nong Kiao was good for outdoor activity, this was on another level, a bigger level, and a more, in some ways, exciting level. You had the Blue Lagoons here, which was about 20,000 to get into, just under £1, and it was so worth it. Amazing scenery, refreshing water to dive into, and they added extra fun bits such as zip line and a swing, which you just go into and try and pull off your best moves. You had view out points which you could see all across this remarkable landscape. I know I keep going on about the landscape and the natural beauty of this country, but it really is amazing. Personally, I think it's better than North Thailand. Taking every turn at a high altitude, you could see something more stunning every time. And the highest point we got in this trip so far is the paramotoring. This was amazing. It cost about £70 to do, and it was so worth it. Sometimes in life, it's better to say nothing and just let the actions unfold. Incredibly, I felt so safe when I did it. The straps that actually kept me in place were really quite loose, but the sensation of just floating with a massive fan and a parachute above me really didn't cross my mind. It doesn't sound safe at all, but when you saw other people doing it, floating above the sky, it was something that I just had to try. Thankfully, I've been lucky enough to do a hot air balloon, and this is one of the cheapest places in the world to do it. So I wanted to try something new, and what an experience. It was only 15 minutes up in the sky, but it felt like an eternity, and just take in every moment. That's why I only recorded a small amount, and you just drink in the emotions that you have and the feelings that you've got in that exact moment right there, which you can pinpoint in your brain years later. Blue Lagoon 3, which I'd suggest to go if you're in Vang Vieng, along with 2 and 4, but 3 was the best. There was a cave. We crawled in with our sliders, really not built for the occasion, but this cave was magical. It opened up and Ben was the only one to go for a little dip in this dark pool of water, which was very brave because you just didn't know what was in there. But it was amazing. Videos don't do it justice because it is just pitch black in there. Walking around with our phone torches, just trying to light the way. And we saw a big beast of a spider, which freaked some of us out.
Holy f*** big!
That was really cool to see. It was 2 for the price of 1. If you weren't jumping off the zip line into the water, you're delving into the caves and seeing something truly amazing. The views in this country, the more east we got, just kept getting better. We spent about 5 days in the end here. We extended our stay at our hostel, but we could have stayed for so much longer. The food, sensational. Activities, even better. After Vang Vieng, we went to the capital, which is Van Tien. There's not much to do here. We went to the Asian version of the Arc de Triomphe of Paris, which is really nice to see. Went to the top, saw above the city. The city's got less than 1 million people, so not a massive capital city, but I think 2 half days and 1 night is so worth it just to see it, just to tick it off. The next morning we went to a national temple. We didn't go inside, just had a look around to kill a bit of time before getting our food and climbing aboard a 24-hour sleeper bus to another capital city of Hanoi, Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
What an experience, and I'll talk about it next time. Thank you for watching and see you again soon. Peace.